Hello everyone and welcome to the Redmen TV. About to bring you a clip from our Journo Insight show where I spoke to the Liverpool Echo's LFC correspondent Paul Gorst about Richard Hughes and how he has started his life as Liverpool's sporting director, with some deals going sideways or not happening at all. There's been a lot of criticism of the new sporting director, so we had a chat if he is up to the job. If you want to check out the show in full before we get to the clip, then do head over to redmenplus.com. If you sign up as a yearly captain subscriber, use the promo code SLOT, SLOT, you'll get 50% off, so you'll get a year's worth of content for half price, including Journo Insight, of which you're about to see a clip from. The last thing that has happened, or didn't happen, let's look at it before we move on to some other things in the future, Paul. Obviously, we haven't spoken since the Martin Zubimendi deal collapsed, for lack of a better phrase. You know, Liverpool, he was identified as the player they wanted. It wasn't actually that long after we spoke last week where it come out like when they were in for the six. It turned out it was him. Obviously, what happened. Liverpool release clauses and all this kind of stuff. The player seemingly changed his mind, and I think is as simple as that. Is that? Yeah, Liverpool thought he had a player, give us word, and then the guy said, nah, not for me at this moment in time. And it's not the first time this has happened to Liverpool. So do you want to just tie it into a nice little bow for us and just your understanding of exactly how this all panned out?
Yeah, it's incredible really that all of that was condensed into a week, wasn't it? Like you said, it was when we recorded last week, and then the news sort of come out later in the day. We had a few inklings, didn't we, that Zubimendi was the one who Liverpool were targeting. Yeah, I mean, it seems as though he gave assurances that, you know, he was willing to move, and then Liverpool sort of pushed on with that, and then Real Sociedad have gone on a bit of a charm offensive, and they've sort of extolled the virtues of the area, you know, the mountains, the scenery, the food, the culture, the weather, and it's all just sort of tugged at the heartstrings of him, and he's decided to stay put. And I don't think Liverpool fans can be too critical of the player, because they've been there themselves when they've had Steven Gerrard the subject of interest every year really of his career. Certainly in 2005 when he came close to joining Chelsea, and then obviously turned that down and stayed for the remainder of his, most of his career, wasn't it? He moved to LA Galaxy, of course, but yeah, Liverpool fans know exactly what that's all about when your homegrown hero is flirting with the move and then stays. So I don't think anyone can be too critical of Zubimendi. And also there's the idea that if he was and ahhing to begin with, perhaps he's not the right player for Liverpool in terms of profile, mentality. Some question marks there that you know are probably fair to ask. So yeah, it looked like it was happening, and then it wasn't, and all the noises are at the moment that Liverpool aren't pursuing an alternative number 6, which is a controversial strategy, I guess. You know, they've done it before when Nabil Fekir didn't come, and then they just didn't bother bringing in another attacking midfielder. That worked out back then. Will it this summer? We'll see. But I still think it's going to be a really interesting, 2 weeks of the window. And while it looks like it won't be Zubimendi who'll be joining, we'll see what happens elsewhere.
Liverpool in isolation, Paul, like I say, you go to a guy and he changes his mind, it's hard to criticise that. But now I'd say Liverpool have been very close, or at least trying to sign 2 players potentially this summer, in Anthony Gordon and now Martin Zubimendi. Neither of them are through the door. Yeah. And again, in both circumstances, you can look at it and go, well, Newcastle sold someone else, they didn't have to sell him. Zubimendi changed his mind, he wanted to stay in San Sebastian again, you can understand it. But when you are, from an overall view of looking down on Liverpool's transfer business, like that's 0 for 2 now for Richard Hughes in his first job. Like, again, I understand the circumstances, but it doesn't exactly bode well, or I don't think it reflects massively positively on him. The fact that the 2 deals that they were working on, neither of them got over the line, like for whatever reason. As a sporting director, your job is to get those deals done, and that's 0 for 2 now. Yeah,
and you can throw in Lenny Yorob as well. Obviously, Liverpool's interest was sort of determined on what Real Madrid would do, and Real Madrid walked away, and Lenny Yorob subsequently went to Manchester United. Now, I think in a sort of black and white world, you are right in saying that, you know, Hughes is not getting them over the line. The optics of it don't look great. But there's nuances to every deal, isn't there? You know, we spoke about being opportunistic, and all 3 of those deals have sort of fallen into that category, I think, really. Certainly the Anthony Gordon one, where Newcastle was just absolutely desperate to try and get some money in to sort of placate the PSR issues as the deadline neared, and then they were able to offset it by getting rid of a couple of players who probably weren't going to feature too much. So that's good work on their part. And Liverpool do like Anthony Gordon, but felt that they were well stocked there, but sort of did sound out what could have been done there. It didn't happen. And Zubimendi now essentially just a player changing his mind, which can happen. Doesn't happen too often, I guess, to a club like Liverpool, but it does happen and can happen. So it's interesting, isn't it? Like, on the face of it, none of it looks particularly good. Particularly when Slott's saying that he'd be surprised if no one comes in, and Virgil van Dijk, we spoke to him on Sunday after the Sevilla game, and he said that he was hopeful of players coming in and felt that they needed to do some work. But there is also, looking at it all a little bit closely, there is nuance to it and shades of grey. So yeah, I can see both sides of it, but I can definitely see some fans' frustrations that, the Premier League starts on Friday night, Liverpool kick off on Saturday, and still nothing through the door. It's a good squad, but it's not a squad that cannot be improved.
Yeah, I suppose, like I say, when we're online all the time, it's our job. We're here, every day, really much, and we're reacting to news and things as they break, and a lot of the criticism has fallen on Richard Hughes. Maybe fairly, unfairly. People who are watching this, you can make your own minds up. But it's undeniable now that there are, like you say, there's nuances to every story, and you can always look at something glass half full, glass half empty. But like I say, it's understandable from some point of view. Like if you just say, well, Liverpool have had 3 transfer targets, and as it stands, none of them are playing for Liverpool, and they start the season on Saturday morning with the same squad. In fact, less squad because they've sold players. Thiago's gone, Matip's gone, Carvalho's gone, Bobby Clark looks like he's about to go, etc., etc. So if your job as Richard Hughes, like I say, he's here for the long term, I understand that, but I kind of get it. I don't think it's his fault per se, but it's never a good look when your first couple of things go wrong for you. I think as a fan base, you probably want the mood to be a bit more settled than it perhaps is now, and that's probably causing some of this unease. Is that fair to say? Yeah,
I think so. And then we had the chance to speak to Van Dijk on Sunday, and he said there's been no change on his situation, which we spoke to him after the Wolves game, which was May the 19th, and then we spoke to him on Sunday, which was August the 11th. So there's nearly 3 months in between there, and still no update on his situation. And look, we don't expect him to be giving us the chapter and verse as to the contract negotiations, but to take him on his word that there's no change and there's no offer on the table, you sort of wonder what has been happening. We're going to come on to Georgi Mamadashvili now, aren't we? And that for me seems a strange one in terms of what Liverpool are looking to prioritise this summer, because there's a lot of moving parts, there's a lot of things to be done. So far, the jury certainly remains out, I think.
So let's touch on that in the contract thing, because you are right. They're not going to sign anyone you'd like not to be going. Again, we're about to go into a season, Paul, with 3 of Liverpool's best players in their final year of the contract as well. Again, that is very much on Richard Hughes' inbox. That should be Trent Alexander-Arnold's contract, Mo Salah's contract. They should be two at the top of his to-do list. And again, we're going into a season now, and we're 3 of Liverpool's best players are a few months away from being able to speak to anyone and secure a free. Like it's quite concerning, really.
It is, yeah. I mean, certainly with Trent, we know Real Madrid undoubtedly would love to take him on a free agency deal.
Who wouldn't?
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. But they've just taken Kylian Mbappe there, for, most high-profile player in the world probably, and they've taken him on a free. So, they're not going to hesitate to try and do it with Trent, I'm sure. Salah, a little bit of a different one, different time of his career, but if he's available on a free, everyone's going to be sniffing around him, aren't they? And that Saudi Arabia interest might re-emerge. I think Van Dijk of the 3 is the one that you're probably most relaxed about, but the longer it goes on, the more the fans are going to be getting twitchy. And I think maybe from the club's perspective, certainly now Michael Edwards being sort of at the top of the tree now, maybe they're looking at it in particular for Salah and Van Dijk and thinking, well, let's see what shape they start the season in first, because if they're both in the 30s now. I think Salah's 32, Van Dijk 33. I think they'll be looking to see if they're still at the levels that they have been at for a number of years now before deciding that these are deals that are going to be valuable to the club. So wait and see on that front. But I am surprised that we haven't seen more in terms of the Trent development maybe. I know that Trent is determined not to have it played out in public, and that's fair enough. Boyhood club, so much respect for his club, for his employers, and vice versa. Everyone's determined just to quietly get that done and under the radar and whatever. But the longer it goes on without a significant update, then the more fans are going to be getting twitchy.
Yeah, right. So I suppose to tie on this little part of the conversation, I think last year when it was like there was you know, a temporary director of football, interim, whatever you want to call it, in Jörg Schmadtke, and it was all a little bit crazy. And
feels a long time ago. That,
it feels a very long time ago, yeah. But it was only like 12 months ago or whatever it was. But like, you had the stuff with Lavia, and you had the stuff with Casado, and you had all kinds going on, and Henderson's going, and Fabinho's had gone out of nowhere, and it felt very chaotic. I think when we all heard Michael Edwards was coming back, and he's bringing his regime, and Julian Ward's involved with FSG again, and hiring the guy they want, maybe the sense was it'll all be a little bit calmer and things would be sound. But as it stands, again, it's been actually another chaotic summer for Liverpool so far, in that, again, missed out on 3 targets. It's confirmed pretty much that they were interested in. There's players being sold, nobody's coming in, the contract stuff. It doesn't feel like the calming summer that we thought that it might have been when FSG decided to bring Michael Edwards back in and put him at the helm of their football operations. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think so. But I also think as well, maybe from the club's perspective, they're looking at it and thinking, well, it's a really good squad that we've got.
Absolutely, yeah.
There are no injuries at the moment, and I think that's key for Liverpool this season. Just stay clear of injuries. You know, who knows what's possible if everyone's fit? Because it certainly didn't happen last year, and it's been a problem now for like 3 or 4 years for Liverpool, really, the amount of injuries they've got. Yep. So if players can stay fit, you know, your Diogo Jota's, your Trent's, your Curtis Jones's, Liverpool have a much better chance of success. So I think that might be part of the thinking, really. You know, maybe they're looking, like Mamardashvili, for example, is a club who are looking to plan for the future, aren't they? Looking to future-proof, and maybe they're looking ahead, taking a bit of a longer-term view and thinking, well, there might have to be a fair old heft to do next summer or whatever because of what happens over contract situations or other players getting a year older and whatever in the squad. So maybe they're thinking at this moment in time, the squad's pretty settled, it's secure, it's a really good squad. Like I say, it can be improved on, but maybe they're taking a bit of a longer term view and kicking things down the road when there's going to be more activity, shall we say, more money spent.
Absolutely, yeah. So there's work to do for Richard Hughes. We'll keep an eye on that one, how things develop.